Hello and welcome to Dreaming Live الحب الحب. Today we continue on the series that is to me as much a musical journey as it is a spiritual journey. Starting with a tribute to Alice Coltrane with her daughter Michelle, followed by leader of the Sun Ra Orchestra Marshall Allen, followed by Mike Banks of the Underground Resistance, and today Larry Heard, also known as Mr. Fingers, Jerk and Jerks, and other names. This series, as I've discussed many times, and I don't really want to repeat it too many times for those who've listened to other episodes, this series focuses on the power of activating intuition, the dimension that we can attain not through our five senses, but through intuition, the dimensions we can create through our intuition. And these dimensions are alternate worlds that we may experience, and worlds that carry absolute freedom. So as I've explained, this is the power to activate intuition. This was the heart of jazz, and house and techno are an extension of that. That's why they're both high-tech jazz. Our guest today, Larry Heard, is known as the originator of deep house music. Before meeting Larry, I already knew what he would be like. I could hear his being shine through his sounds. I could hear the gentleness, the peace, the comfort, the beauty of his being. While others were at the time were making dance, a lot of people were making dance music automatically cater to dance floors. Larry created dance music by being who he is, a drummer and a person of peace, comfort, beauty, and love. So there's no surprise to me that the music of his became described as deep house, especially the word deep. I will start this episode as I always do, play a segment of his music, then my discussion with Larry. I just want to give this disclaimer. The talk I had with him was very enjoyable, and it lasted about an hour and 40 minutes. And as I like to keep the discussion part of the episodes around an hour and the music part around an hour, so I had to cut it down. But I did not want to cut down his words, and so I cut down a lot of my words. I actually cut them down. So if you listen to the episode and it sounds like Larry is speaking a lot, it's not true at all. It's just that I cut off a lot of me in honor of keeping his words. After my discussion with Larry is a mix that was put together of Larry's music by Estimolo. Thank you so much, Estimolo. Also, a big thank you to Renee. Renee, I came to you with the dream of hosting Larry, and he was unable at the time. He was working on his new album. But when he became available, you actually wrote back to me. And, I'm infinitely grateful for that. Thank you. And so now this song I consider as the anthem of house music, the manifesto of house music. So many people mashed Larry's music with vocals and other stuff. Some people, and especially "Can You Feel It." "Can You Feel It" is one of his earlier deep house songs, which is one of my favorite songs. There's someone mashed it with "I Have a Dream," with the speech "I Have a Dream" by Martin Luther King. Others mashed it with there's a lot of versions, and this one specifically that was mashed with a cappella by Chuck D, I consider is the manifesto of house music. Listen to, as I said, to Larry's beauty and comfort shine through the warm pads of his music, and listen to the words of Chuck D, because as I said, the values, the lessons, and everything, and the movement and even the resistance of house music is in those words. So listen, enjoy, and much love.
Can you feel it?
Hello, so nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. Yeah.
How have you been?
Well, it's been a tricky year.
Yes.
Yeah. So just kind of just trying to stay safe for the most part for the last 12 months and stay sane.
But I imagine like someone like you is a bit pandemic trained, no? Like I'm like that too. Like a bit. I like
Mhm.
to be alone
I
and
guess I mean for my
to.
concentration for doing my music, yeah, I do kind of need some alone time, but sometimes it'd be too
Yeah, not
alone,
like this.
more alone than you want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, and I think now it's like getting
Yeah, yeah.
to the limit.
Definitely was pretty stir crazy being kind of stuck, limited to one place and not being able to move around freely. Yeah, was a little tricky. Yeah.
And I work in healthcare. So a first wave, was like very confusing. No one knew what to do. It was always changing. The second wave,
Mm.
we were like ready, but then we got
Oh,
cyber attacked,
wow.
so we were not ready. But then we got but then like now it's like we thought we'd be good. So now it's just like not again,
Yeah, it's like waking up in a new world every morning. When you wake up, you just don't know what to expect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a new world, and I hope
Yeah.
good things come out of it in the
Yeah.
end. I know
Yeah.
that it's
Hmm.
almost over. I
Hmm.
hope. Okay, so yeah, so I'm very happy to host you. I don't know if you know, but the series I've hosted the daughter of Alice Coltrane, Michelle Coltrane. We did a
Okay.
tribute to Alice Coltrane, and then I
Mhm.
did Marshall Allen
Mhm.
of the Sonora Orchestra, and then Mike
Okay.
Banks, and now
You're
you.
good company here. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I remember you. I just want to start a little bit. You had said. I want to start with just a little, like some things, just some small things, not. Um, you had said like that you had learned guitar with your brother. You didn't know drumming, but you saw an opening for a drummer, and you said that you were a drummer.
yeah.
I think that's also amazing. Were you good at it right away? So you just said I'm a drummer, and you learned it very quickly. And were you
Yeah,
good right
I
away?
kind of had to because I opened my big mouth and I had to make good on my word. I played around with drums, but never seriously. So I had to get serious to kind of, yeah, make good on my word. Yeah.
Uh, that's so yeah. So you were good at it pretty quickly, no? You must have been.
Yeah, I guess I had been around so much rhythm and so much music, in my whole upbringing that some part of me just, really related to the rhythm part and was able to kind of figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I want to get into what my vision and theme for this episode is like. I had told you like there's Alice Coltrane, Marshall Allen, and Mike. But one thing that for me, and this is very significant for you, especially as a drummer, I feel like Chicago house and techno and from both Chicago and Detroit, but especially Chicago house,
Mhm.
and it's so rhythmically powerful. You know,
Okay.
it's
Mhm.
like yes, there is 4/4 beat,
Yeah.
and there is which you describe the 4/4. You say that it's I've heard you describe the 4/4 as being like accessible to
Hmm.
people, right? But
Yeah.
also there is like the rhythmic complexity within the 4/4 beat is so
Yeah.
vast.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, me coming from the background of being a drummer, I have kind of different place, I guess, than the guys and ladies who are DJs, where I had maybe more insight into like counter rhythm and that kind of thing that kind of sits alongside of the straight beat. You always have these polyrhythms and all kind of other things going on alongside of it as well.
Yeah, and I think like but like especially you and Tyree Cooper and other people like strip down a whole song to nothing, to just the rhythm, and it would still be really, really amazing. And I think I don't know, I just think it's amazing that you could strip everything down. And I feel like this is what I call like rhythmically honest, because there's a lot of like music and electronic music where, yes, there is rhythm, but there's so much effects and so much things. But it
Yeah.
just fascinates me when you can strip it all down and it will still be amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's something I deliberately did. Maybe it's something more instinctual for me. I can't
Okay.
answer for Tyree or any of those other people because everybody has their own experience, you know. But yeah, but for me, I just kind of, again, it's more instinctual. I'm not really thinking as much as people think you're thinking. I'm more, it's more meditative. I'm more feeling the music and letting the music kind of tell me what to do instead of me doing the reverse, telling it what to do. Because I think a lot of people do that. I'm in control. You know, I'm more kind of a hippie 60s attitude, like let me just go with what's already flowing and fit myself in. Like you do when you're with a group of individuals in a band or an orchestra, you find where you fit in. And
Yeah.
it's kind of I guess I approached the situation the same, even though it's myself and a computer and the, the sound elements that are part of, what I'm putting together, but I still got to find where I fit in and where my expression fits in to what's happening as well. So,
And
I don't
how?
know if I'm wording that in a
No,
way
you
that
do
makes sense.
absolutely. And how? Yeah,
And
you have to
I
fall in
started
love
buying
with it.
records at a young age as well. I started buying at 10 years old. So I do kind of have a little bit of insight into what makes a person buy a record, especially when you had to sacrifice, because I had to skip lunch to save money to buy 45s. So that sacrifice.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
you
beautiful.
really love something when you sacrifice for it. And some people immediately want to skip over all sacrifices, all hurdles and challenges, and there's just no way that you can do that. It's just part of the experience.
Also, with regards to intuition and improvisation, I don't know if you feel this way, but I know that the you like bought this new gear and the same night you recorded Mystery of Love, right? And this is quite a famous story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like, I don't know, maybe this sounds stripped out, but Mike said that March. A lot of people feel this way when they create music. Do you ever feel like there's something like also guiding you or something in the creation? Or?
Uh, yeah, in a way, and like I said, I explained it in the way of the sounds guiding me, but yeah, that is something that's guiding you. I mean, even if it's like just like one sound, it kind of starts to kind of open your brain up with more ideas. That's what it is. It's
And
not me.
yeah,
Again, it's
yeah,
not me coming in and say, do this music, do that music. It's me coming in saying, okay, what can we do together?
and you let go and you pursue it.
Yeah. I'm not really trying to. It's not a control situation for me. It's kind of an integration of myself and my feelings, my opinions, and all that kind of stuff alongside of what I'm doing inside of the computer.
I also feel it's almost like like when you catch something, a flow or something, it's like you enter a universe and now it's like exploring it.
Yeah. So it ends up being, and I have these. The word adventure comes up a lot with me when you're talking about music
Yeah.
because it is its own adventure. You don't have to leave your chair,
Yes.
but you go on an adventure if you allow yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously evidently evoked like in sceneries, not songs and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. There's like
Yeah.
entire planets to play with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what the projects like those are really fun to do because you get to really explore your imagination. You don't have to kind of think about song structure and tradition and the status quo of what everyone else is doing. You could just freely create, which is pretty much maybe the essence of creating, where you don't do it for anyone or for any real purpose, just for the sake of creating, just to see how it comes out.
Yeah,
And
letting
then I
go.
come back later and review it and sometimes try to understand myself what happened. I'm
Uh,
glad it happened, but sometimes I don't understand it. I'm just glad it came together. So
yes,
there is magic. There's a magic kind of is part of the process. And sometimes you have to allow that magic to come in. And if you're too rigid far as your own viewpoint, then that kind of maybe stifles the magic from being able to happen because you want your way. You don't want the music to kind of evolve the way that it would without your interference.
another thing that in music I found like that while you had one foot in the dance scene, but you were also bringing it to the living rooms and to people's beds and to that we it was applicable to any time and any day and any yeah. But I
Yeah, I
think
try
that's
to do
more
that. Make music that kind of fits into more kind of a scenarios instead of exclusively just clubs. Because people utilize music in all kinds of things in our communities and cultures, not exclusively just clubs.
yeah.
And there are people who enjoy clubs, but maybe they're their parents now and they can't go, and but they still enjoy the music. So you have to kind of construct something that fits in. It works for a DJ's use, and it works for a grandmother who just wants it to listen to at home, and she's not trying to start a club. I just want to listen to this song.
Yeah,
So
I
we
also
don't kind. I don't kind of leave people out, which a lot of times club culture can be guilty of leaving people out and segregation and all this stuff that used to be one club in the disco era. Now it's broken down into a techno club, this club, that club, which is all more segregation in a way, where the music is now broken down and spread out in more directions in a way where it it kind of, for me, it becomes more confusing
yeah
when I have to find specific clubs for specific kind of music. It can be a little weird.
I absolutely agree, and I think that this is like a value. Like this is something in like there's something really large to say that when you even like that people attribute the whole deep house genre to you. Imagine how powerful this is. But at the same time, from what I've heard you say, and I agree with you, it's like it's just a name.
Hmm.
It's like it's a genre. It's a name you put on something that was just freely created,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Of
then
course, I understand the need to try to be descriptive to people who are looking for the music. I understand that part. But to get so kind of legalistic about it,
yeah.
where people are starting to argue now, this is deep house, this is tech house, this is minimal. When it starts to turn into argument, now it's counterproductive because now we're wasting our time. We're not enjoying music. Everybody's just trying to be right, just like you see with our political world.
Yeah.
I'm right, you're wrong. It's just a power struggle of who's right. It's like not what's right. What's right for all of the people is what we're interested in, not you being right as an individual. If you are, congratulations, but yeah, let's not get all caught up into thinking the world is about one person because it's not.
Yes, I agree. And also, it starts to because I always compare it to like when I see someone go to a record store and be like, "Where's your techno section?" And I'm like, you should go and be open and dig and explore. But also, like I'm sure when people make music, like imagine, like you said, you're following your intuition, and your intuition said to do this kind of rhythm, and then you're like, no, I have to do like this category or genre, and then you limit
Yeah.
your mind.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah. And it limits your creativity as well because now
yeah.
you have, just like we saw the whole beginning of the pandemic, where the individuals who had more stuff that was just only kind of focused at DJ culture
Yes.
and all the parties stopped. So that means everything stopped for those individuals as well because now the music doesn't fit in when I'm at home and I'm making dinner and the kids are running around outside and all that kind of stuff. Your regular life,
Yes.
where it's not club time, but it is lifetime. And usually our lives have some kind of musical backdrop to it. whether we're paying attention or not. There's usually something on in the background. Because even some people stick to same tempos over and over, things like that, same premises over and over, same structure over and over. And to me, I feel like that's counterproductive. If I already done it once, why am I doing it 10 more times or 100 more times or 50 more times? That's just,
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a loop now. I'm not really kind of growing.
And that goes back to like improvisation. Like every moment is different. Like maybe today my energy is a bit low, tomorrow my energy is high. Every
Yeah.
moment is different. And when we're creating with our mind and our predefined construction of what we want, instead of just really being so true to what is inside of us, I think if just by being true to what is inside of us, our expression will be different. We're not the same. The moments are not the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
You talked about like trying to re-record Mystery of Love later, and you said that just didn't work, because the moment was
The
different.
moment was past, yeah. And everything, I mean, because we've seen the futile attempts in our, communities and everything where in Chicago, remember, there's a club called the Warehouse, a legendary club that goes way, way back. And maybe 10 years later, someone else created a club and they called it the Warehouse.
Yeah.
And they thought it was the same experience because they gave it the same name, and it was not.
Of course.
And then I think there was one more club after that called Warehouse 2 or something like that, where they kept trying to, go through this futile attempt to capture a moment that had already went by.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I mean, I get it, the emotional attachment and everything and all the fun associated with the place. But it kind of gets to be kind of pathetic after a while because we're trying to recreate an old moment instead of having a fresh new moment.
Yes. And because
That's
the
what
moment
gets
is
left
past.
out. Yeah, because
past.
all the people who danced at the Warehouse, yeah, they got jobs now. They're moved to different parts of the country. They have kids and everything. That everything has changed. That moment, the timeline has moved away from that moment. So I don't know how you think you can just construct, a place and some decorations and say, here's that moment again. It's a fraud.
Yes.
Now to
And
pay homage to something, that's cool and everything too, but to kind of delude yourself to say I'm recreating a moment.
yeah, it's exactly.
How do
It's
you have the
dishonest.
power to recreate a moment? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Because everybody would be doing that all the time if we had the ability to do that. We'd
Yeah.
all be going back to our favorite moments of our lives. Yeah.
But what's interesting about life is that it keeps moving. I mean,
Yes.
curiosity and openness and
And again, that's why you
exploration.
keep going back.
Yeah.
It may not even be an option, even though we use it as an option from time to time. It it never really have the same potency
Yeah.
as something like the whole thing that happened with us in Chicago, and I guess same in Detroit. I wasn't living there, but I can only speak for the town I was in. There was a magic, with the people doing the music like Jesse Saunders and Jamie Principle, Steve Hurley, and all those guys, and they were local. Of course, we knew Confunction, we knew Ohio players, Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Eagles. We know all your groups, but all of them seem far away.
Yeah.
When it gets to Jamie Principle, I said, I went to high school with this guy. Now I feel super close. And I'm sure that was the same thing with a lot of people in the community. This guy went to school with me. This guy lives in the neighborhood. This lady lives down the road. It all feels so close to you that you just get excited. And that's what happened in Chicago, where the people making the music were excited and the people hearing the music were excited.
Yeah.
And you just can't manufacture that no matter how much of a budget that you have.
Would you say that time is kind of a test of is a true test of like whether it's like trend or there's something about time and true expression, like the fact that your music is still so relevant, I don't know, 35 years later, how long has it, it's like time is some kind of real beautiful test.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, of course, when you're making the songs, initially all you're hoping for is that someone enjoys it and someone relates to it and what have you. But then you really don't think about the real reward of as time goes by and people are like um, parents letting their children hear the song, older brothers letting the younger siblings hear the songs, and it's moving along with the timeline, which you don't think about that when you're writing your first song.
That a whole subgenre is attributed to you. That's quite insane.
Yeah, and then of course, and right at the beginning, you don't know that you're at the beginning of a new genre to begin with. All you know is I have these pieces of equipment to work with, and this is all I have. I don't really kind of know what's gonna uh, transpire with the whole world and its evolution. But yeah, later on, when 5 years down the line, and someone's still saying that song "Mystery of Love," that song "Bring Down the Walls," yeah, it's very rewarding that it kind of transcends the calendar.
Yeah.
Just because it's not a new record anymore.
Geography and time.
Sorry?
Geography and time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are amazing things that, I couldn't deliberately add as a component to what I'm doing. It's just something that's instinctually happening and something that's instinctually being received on the other end. So it has to reach it. It kind of has to reach you on its own. And it has to grab you on its own, embrace you. Let's say not grab, let's say embrace, because that's what I try to make my music.
Oh yeah, it's certainly embrace.
Like a warm blanket that wraps around you.
Exactly, it's a warm
blanket. Not like a stranger grabbing
shiny,
you. Yeah, I want to have a comfy, cozy, and that's why I think I shared with a guy in London. I thought my mother and her sister, they had abusive husbands. Physically and verbally abusive. And I saw them be comforted by music.
Oh, wow.
During this whole time of these things going on. And, of course, you have a complex life. My father's black man in Chicago in the 1960s. He got a job with the police force. And I'm sure he's not wanted there.
Yeah.
He's facing all kind of, racism and discrimination every day of the week just to provide for his family. So that's a sacrifice that he made, to take care of us, to be in a job where he wasn't wanted and was overlooked when it's time for promotions and things like that. So that's the more uglier side of, a person working a job. You just think, oh, good, they got a job, great.
Of course.
Sometimes there's more layers to that as well.
How in the face of there's still a lot of injustice, remain so peaceful and calm and peaceful? Because to be honest, I said this in the last discussion with Mike, admittedly, I had a lot of anger. In the last year only did I start to release the anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a lot of things to be angry about, but the anger would only hurt me.
Yeah, exactly.
Since it's me holding it in and me having all these negative feelings, I'm not getting back at the world by messing myself up.
Beautiful.
So I had to have myself in some kind of good spirits, or some kind of positive frame of mind. And if I let everything upsetting upset me, I would be upset every minute of every day from now on, right? Yeah. So that's what it is. You kind of have to buffer yourself because something's always coming, even though things may be going smooth at this moment. An hour from now, nightmare. And you can kind of transcend all that stuff and kind of slide back through it where people start to say, well, why aren't you angry like everyone else? Because I've had those questions, of course, Why don't I hear anger? Why don't I hear anger? Anger. And inside my head, I was like, well, why do you want to hear anger is my question if I get to ask a question.
Yeah.
So it's something, yeah, when you're angry, yeah, I guess you want to hear anger from other people to maybe not feel alone. I'm not sure. Because I try to let go of the anger as quick as possible because I know how long I can hold on to it if I wanted to.
Yes, and
So it ends up being a waste of my mental energy and all those kind of things. Yeah.
but even in my angriest moments, I always felt embraced by your music.
But that's great too. And again, that's another reason the music is has
Like a
such a
mother.
therapeutic.
It's like a
Music
mother.
has such a therapeutic aspect to it
Yeah.
that people kind of overlook. They're so drawn maybe into popularity and acceptance and accolades and things like that that they could kind of forget that the music can basically help someone, and sometimes that doesn't involve you getting a paycheck.
Yes.
Because when I had an incident in Japan where I went to a club, I DJ'd, and after I played, a guy came to me with a box of candy and presented it to me, and he told me that his brother committed suicide,
Yeah.
and he was about to commit suicide as well, and he started to listen to music instead, and he changed his mind.
Wow. I'm got goosebumps and I'm gonna
Yeah,
tear
so
from
it's
this.
kind of crazy. While in the middle of this party, everybody's like, "Yeah, do, 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 do," and we're in the corner crying. This guy telling me
Oh,
this story about him almost killing himself.
wow, that's
And
beautiful.
and again, you kind of get to explore another dimension while everyone else in the club was having their experience. We had a much more meaningful one, even though we two strangers. It's like, wow, I'm glad the music really helped in that way at that moment. Yeah.
And so I want, and you had the chance to work in big labels, right? And also when in big label MCA, and I heard you say that you ended up valuing your freedom more than the money, right? And I think this kind of ties into that, right? Because had you continued to, I mean, your music. It would have been very different if you were pursuing money, obviously.
Yeah, and it would have been over with a long time ago as
Exactly. Yeah.
well if I had stayed with MCA and them kind of having their ideas. I mean, I have my own idea. I don't need you for an idea. Let's establish
Yeah.
that fact first of all. And now if you have one and that happens to work out, that's fine, but that's not my primary reason for being here for you all to construct my music. Like, no, I already kind of put my feet in the water on that when people who have been following it are accustomed to what I'm doing. So to maybe disturb that too quickly would be a mistake. And I was right. And again, just because
Yeah.
it's MCA and they're a big, powerful company doesn't mean they're always right about everything.
So, and you also had similar when you were a drummer, and they were not really respecting your ideas. That's why you left, and it started, which almost is a blessing in disguise. But I'm wondering, how did it feel when those? I'm guessing that they came back to you later, like, oh, maybe we should, maybe we should have
Oh
listened to
yeah,
your
yeah. They come
ideas.
back later. Oh, produce a song for me. Produce a song for me. And that's what it is. This whole kind of judgment where you decided because the person is the drummer that they were incapable of performing in these other capacities. And again, that's a mistake you don't even know. So how do you even make that call if you don't even know what the person has in their skill set? And
Off
that's
that,
another place. That's another area where companies like the bigger companies like MCA immediately, as soon as I get in there, they're ready to pair me up with someone that I know nothing about this person and they know nothing about me. All they know is this guy worked with Soul to Soul and I was doing my thing that was more independent, probably frowned upon, the house music thing. Oh, that's nothing. That's no money for a company like MCA.
yeah.
So they immediately slap people together without knowing if they're compatible or anything. And if the resulting creative effort kind of is consistent with who the individual is.
Yeah.
as opposed to what the marketing plan is. It's great for marketing, but terrible for the person because it doesn't represent them. It represents some formulated thing that the company came up with. It's easy for them.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, it then you quickly become like so many others. You sound like so many other formulas, so many other, and then that dies very quickly as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you stuck to your dreams and your values, and you left the
Yeah,
band
I
for
didn't have
them. You
any
left
real
a big legacy
choice
for
there
them.
because they were already kind of, again, you signed with MCA and then within no time flat, they're starting to try to change who you are.
Yeah.
And now maybe it would have been different if I was younger because I'm maybe about 29 years old, maybe at this time. Maybe if I'm 10 years younger, like 19, I'm just excited. I live with my parents. I don't have responsibilities. And I'm not fully tapped into my own identity yet.
Yeah.
That's the next thing. So that's what it is I was kind of tapped into my identity at this stage of my life. And I was like, no, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do creatively. I already went through that at a younger age with people who thought I wasn't capable of producing a song because I was a drummer, and they were wrong. And you're wrong too, and you're going to find out. And MCA is totally absorbed by Universal now, doesn't even exist as a label anymore.
Wow, and look at
Yeah.
your music still standing strong.
Yeah, so again, you don't have to be, just because you're the most powerful and the most wealthy, doesn't mean you're right every time.
Yes,
You're
and
not right about everything. You may be right about some of those things. And even with a company like MCA, all the people who are A&R and what have you, is like you can't get on a high horse because you didn't build this company up. You're coming into a company that's already established. Its bank accounts are already in place before you got here. You didn't build the bank account up. It's more dwindling under the authority of we saw it go from 6 major labels down to 2, I think, over the past 20 years or something like that.
And do you think
so? It's very evident they were it's kind of unraveling as far as them staying strong.
Yeah, and I think also that like people like yourselves and you are, and a lot of people had a big say in this shifting, in this shift to independent music, independent to freedom. And I think that on the long, and in general, the underground culture had a very tremendous power in shaping the world, and I hope it continues this way, you know?
Yeah, I hope so as well, but then you still have to have something significant because everybody has something.
Yes.
But is it actually relevant, or is it a duplication of something that someone's already doing? So it's more redundant than something new and enriching for, humanity. Like Quincy always talked about tempos, and he already said where it feels right, that's where it is right. And some people automatically, for club culture, they put their song on 123 or 5 automatically.
Yes.
Without when they start, it's at 123, 125, just to get into that tempo range for DJs. I don't do that.
Yeah, you have a record where it says the tempo, like don't expect it's gonna be 120.
Yeah, mine. Yeah, I never. Yeah, that even throws me off too, because if I go in the studio and I'm trying to let myself be open and I'm rigid on the tempo, it's like it's something feeling is saying the tempo should be a lot slower. So I end up going by that, the instinct part that Quincy Jones, I heard him mention many times.
I really, really believe that instinct can tap us, whether by listening or by creating, into other like worlds and other everything that we don't see. Like even when we walk in the same walk with our instincts activated, or when we make music with our instinct activated, or even when we make love with someone with our instinct activated, it's complete. It's like tapping into a whole world. And this is I think intuition especially activated in Black music, to be honest, which is, I think, one of the most beautiful things, is this liberation that has come out of activating intuition, truly activating
And sometimes the thing that, like you said, the blessing in disguise, the curse of never having the budgets comparable, to maybe a white artist or what have you, a rock artist or a country artist or something like that. It makes you have to use your ingenuity, your resourcefulness. So since I don't have the capital, let me figure out what I can do that doesn't require capital.
Yes.
And that's where your resourcefulness comes in, your brain. But all that early stuff from Chicago, these are not people that had full-blown state-of-the-art studios. Yes. These are people that had one piece of gear or two pieces of gear, and they made it work. Because that's what I had bring down the walls, two pieces of gear.
Yes.
Two synthesizers. So I didn't have the flexibility to kind of just, let my mind kind of go crazy.
But you had the most powerful tool, which is, again, intuition. You activated. And that is, I
think... let me make this little bit of nothing into some. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not the easiest kind of position to take on, because I know a lot of people, again, in your zeal to kind of get involved and have people hear their creative efforts sometimes make you kind of think you can skip over things or bypass things. But I wish them the best, but I always really kind of, when people ask me for advice, it's always do something that will make some sense in 5 years or 10 years and not just, 5 days and nobody has any use for it after that.
Yeah, like the winter 2020 summer hit. Winter 2020, sorry, like just like winter hit, summer hit, or winter or summer. Yeah, it's like I'm like, shouldn't you at least aim for timelessness? Like, but yeah, it's just, I think, aim for expression. Express, vocalize.
And that's the thing that's kind of missing with a lot of stuff I hear. I hear redundant, somebody imitating Adonis, somebody imitating that one. It's like, okay, what do you do? Okay, I already know what Adonis does. I mean, I'm trying to hear something new, and you're giving me something old, and you want me to pay for it like it's new in the record store, and I'm just not going to do that.
And this is exactly what this show is about. It's about the values that drive work like this. It's like people who really, their values in creating, they're not submitting to temptation, not submitting to fame, and remaining true to their ideas, to their dreams, and how by doing that they were able to really transcend geography, transcend time, and will always,
Well, maybe you're hitting on to something right there. Just what you're saying there. It's not every individual is not kind of even in tune with themselves enough to kind of make a decision like that. So I don't even know where that starts. And again, for me, maybe is the time period where I wasn't saying anything. I was just more observing everything around me. And I guess at some point, I had to start verbally expressing myself to kind of interact with people. And I guess I had really established who I was and what I wanted and why I wanted it. Maybe at a time when other people are more just having fun. I was kind of more thinking deeper, about myself, what I want to do and why.
Was there any resistance to when you were doing that back in the day? Because I feel like there was not many people doing that, like really like slowing things down, and really, was there any resistance to that?
There was political and social resistance to it, because remember, we're kind of following behind Disco Sucks.
Yes.
Which is right there in Chicago, and had undertones of homophobia and racism and all that stuff kind of embedded, because the disco music was encroaching on the finances of rock and country and all these other styles of music now, and starting to dominate the charts. And a lot of people didn't like seeing the different cultures together. Whereas, rock here's our audience, country, here's our audience, classical, here's our
And then
audience.
house music
And
did
it,
that
yeah,
again.
it's pretty rigid. It's not really kind of welcoming. I've been to a Kiss concert, and I probably maybe one of two black people in the whole place of thousands of people. And that's how it is. It's kind of stuff is already kind of segregated in its own way. And you had to kind of break through the segregation. That's what disco ended up doing.
And
Starting from those loft parties and everything in New York and all the different places that had, you know, gatherings before they were official. We want to still get together and listen to music and dance and hang out, you know.
And that's what house music also and techno really also did. I mean, you even like even when you look at the cheesiest like house music party, because you know I'm sure you're aware that it's gone quite. There are some branches of it that are quite like
Oh yeah,
cheesy, but
there's some
even in
things.
the cheesiest, I think that there is some kind of victory in the original messages. And the message, I think actually the Can You Feel It with the Chuck Roberts uh, talk. I think that's the manifesto for house music. That's like the manifesto.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great little, you know, verbal thing he did there. It's a very,
But the
very
two
mark.
together is like that's the so even regardless of how cheesy things, if things have gone in certain places cheesy or not cheesy, or regardless of everything, I think that the message spread like fire. You know, even
Yeah,
in
yeah.
you know even in you have these events where people in Jordan, for people everywhere, like in the whole world, are coming together in spite of everything, accepting each other, loving each
Yeah.
other. This is very powerful.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was kind of one of the things that America, yeah, wasn't really interested in some kind of a organic movement happening. They were more interested in stuff that was kind of structured out, had something to do with capital and everything else.
Yes, of course.
And this was something that's like, okay, we're outside of this, we don't understand it, uh, and they were kind of poised. Of course, they were poised because once the people kind of said, well, maybe there might be some money in this. That's when Motown comes in and Warner Brothers come in and Arista come in. All these bigger labels start to kind of converge on Chicago
Yeah.
at the end of the 80s. Yeah. And that's where you get Tin City on Atlantic and Lil Lewis on Epic and Kim Mazel on Capitol and Blaze on Motown. Yeah, because they say, okay, we need to get involved in this just in case there is money. We don't have any
Yes.
confidence. We don't have the confidence, and we don't have any allegiance to it, but we don't want to be left out.
Yeah, like Mike said, like the most dangerous animal is the chameleon, and like you know, capitalism is like a chameleon. You know,
Mhm, yeah.
I also like
We want to blend into any group if there's a chance of capital being
listen. Like,
made.
do you know, like for all my life, women with a hijab, with a veil, were depicted in like as terrorists and this and that. Now you look at those brand names, Gucci and them, they have like women in veils, like because they know that they're starting to that there's money to be made out of that, and like all of the
Yeah.
tone. Once you see money, once they see money, the whole rhetoric changes.
Yeah, your whole attitude towards changes. Yeah, and we saw that happen in America with hip hop music.
Yes,
Well, again, right away, oh, this is stupid, it's dumb, it's not music, it's not gonna last. We've done over and over. We saw it with house music. Say, well, we've heard this before.
yeah,
So,
and then it was stolen and
yeah,
robbed.
and you have this weird dichotomy of because just by the people you're around, you could tell the people they want something new and fresh.
Yes,
But at the same time, they're a little afraid of it.
they're afraid of the unknown.
Nobody really wants to be the first person to say, I like this. Being the second person is okay.
Yes, yes,
Nobody wants to, it's always scary to be that first person, the one that they call the pioneer.
and
Everybody
and
wants to
and
be the pioneer, but they're afraid to be the pioneer at the same time. Once someone comes in that they find more palatable, like
yes,
somebody like a Madonna.
yeah.
Madonna, America.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what kind of got people saying, okay, well maybe this can actually work, and but they still didn't really know how to interact with it at the bigger labels. But they just knew they didn't want to be left out because that's what happened with disco. Disco is more independent labels as well, and the
Yeah.
major labels trying to catch up. So they didn't want that same thing to happen again with this whole new music phenomenon that showed up. So,
And then the board comes, like Mike said, they take what they want, they throw away what they don't want, and then
and
they.
sometimes that includes the artist and the producer and the remixers. Throw it away. Yeah, it's very cold. It's got this cold side where we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and
That's the scariest thing about major labels, because even with like with the pandemic and stuff, and people started getting laid off and fired from jobs and things like that, the thing I can say about what I do for a livelihood is I'm not going to fire myself.
yeah,
I'm running my own little label. It's a
yeah,
small rinky-dink business, but I'm not going to fire myself. So I know that it has its security in one way, but then you have to really hustle,
yes,
to actually see something to kind of live off of.
yes. You have to keep pushing. So, did you ever almost give up? I know you took a vacation, but not give up. But
Yeah, there've been many times where I took on other jobs just to kind of break up,
yeah,
just having some dimension in my daily life, because music all day, all night. Yeah, it sounds good in the song house music all night long, but at some point I gotta turn it off and go to sleep.
yeah, yeah.
So that's a fun thought.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what it is. I like to have fun, but I'm still tapped into reality as well.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, like I think that's something that that's very evident in your music, where you are bringing more than just the dance floor, you're bringing more than just the 4x4, you're bringing more than just dance music, you're also bringing more than like ambience, obviously not ambient either, like you're bringing a bit of all of the melodies, and we can hear it, we can hear, really, I can hear, at least I can speak for myself, but I know others, really, that you are, as a human being, or a very, very beautiful human being. We can hear it in the melodies, we can hear it in the gentleness, but still in the rhythmic chaos. There's still always this.
Wow, that's very interesting. The gentle and chaos. Yeah, I like that.
And rhythmic chaos. I think the
Yeah,
rhythm
yeah.
is the
Oh, yeah.
chaos.
For me, yeah, it's rhythmic chaos. That describes me a whole lot.
But still with this lush and this, like you say, embracing and this all of that. So like I kind of, without, before even speaking to you, before watching anything, I just almost could see that, and now speaking to you, like, yeah, I just want you to know you are a very beautiful human soul and spirit.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And like this
Yeah.
music starts with a state of being, and I say that the show Dreaming Live is to be, first to be able to be, and then to dream, and then to create, and lastly
Okay.
to persist.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely have to,
Yeah,
because things may not happen as quick as you think they will, and chances are there are more stories of disappointment connected to music than stories of successes, because
yes,
we don't really get to chat with the people who tried and it didn't work out. Because
yeah,
there's probably a lot of heart-wrenching stories out there about people who try. Some, even I know people like even were signed with big record labels, and for one reason or another, nothing was ever issued to the public.
yeah,
So it's all wasted effort at the end of the day, and they were thrown away by the label at the end of it. Because again, if you have a creative idea that people don't actually get it initially, you have to have that persistence to stay true to what it is that you're feeling is going to work for you.
and to believe in yourself, and to
Yeah, and some
fight
people
for
they
it.
kind of sacrifice that because you find an opportunity to get you somewhere quicker.
Yes,
That's
shortcuts.
more common. We have the opportunity to work with a big name individual or something like that, and you some kind of fall off track. Maybe maybe for the rest of your career of doing what you were initially going to do creatively. And now you're kind of just working a job now. It's a high paid job,
And
but it's not what you kind of envisioned initially. You know.
this is what I really appreciated for your work, for the work of Alice Coltrane, of the Sun Ra Orchestra, of Mike, of people who stayed true to who they are. Like when I asked Mike Banks in the episode, he said, "Be who you are. You are." I kept, and then I connected.
Yeah. That's the one you automatically win.
Yeah.
Because you're being someone that no one else can be. So
because you are someone that no one else can be.
Yeah, you automatically win. That's your strongest asset.
Like imagine how many billions of people there are, and you're still so unique. So that's your greatest power.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. You try to be someone else, you're better off being you, because nobody will beat you at being you.
And already you are a unique, like
now you find out who the creative you is a matter of getting in there now, getting in the studio and just doing everything. You can't restrict yourself, because you won't know what your capabilities are when you do restrict yourself.
Yeah, imagine you would not have started the whole thing that they now call deep house if you had restricted yourself. You would maybe be doing, I don't know,
I'd be still working my government job, maybe,
Yeah, but I mean, you pioneered the whole new, whatever it's called, genre. You pioneered it. So if you were not leaving your boundaries, you wouldn't have come there. You wouldn't have arrived to this.
Oh, yeah. Maybe someone else would have filled those shoes. We don't know.
Yeah, I wonder.
We just don't know. But it's funny in a way, and it's an honor, to kind of.
And I would imagine it's even more honor that the name assigned to it has the word deep.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, and who came up with it, that I'm not sure, but I'm definitely proud that I get to kind of represent the deeper aspect.
And I think that's why I said I had an idea what you would be like before I met you, because I could hear this peace and this gentleness and this magic and this but also as I said, in the drummer, in a drummer restricted with 4x4, which is even harder.
Yeah, and there've been times when I've mixed 4/4 with 5/4, 7/8. I've done all kind of unorthodox things in the eyes of the DJs, because it would confuse the DJs. But the average person listening, they wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
Because they're not really listening to the timing, they're listening to the composition. But the DJ has to pay attention to the time, and they see that, okay, it's not coming around every 4 beats, this is coming around every 5 beats. And I had a couple of friends who chew me out. Why do you keep doing that? It's not intentional. It's just how, the idea was flowing out. It wasn't coming out 4/4. I could put it on a 4/4 beat, but the idea was actually 5/4, and it was coming around in odd intervals, which made it really interesting.
Yes.
It always landed in a different place.
Yeah, I almost feel sometimes I listen to house and techno, I call it like a Ford factory, like it's assembly line and the beat is just like this assembly line, and I'm like, where is the lessons and the freedom that...
Yeah, I guess the freedom is what you put on top of that 4/4 once you kind of lay that down, And that's where I get kind of, again, can be controversial at times as far as what I put on top of the 4/4.
Oh, it's always controversial to take your own path. Even when I DJ, people think it's like controversial, or they tell me, maybe you should start with more this and more that. I'm like, I want to do what I am. Like, I go up and this is what I feel like,
So maybe I just shouldn't tell you in the future, because every time I tell you something, you try to talk me out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll just keep it to myself from now on.
Or you meet people who are like you.
Yeah, that's what you do. Because you get plenty of people, plenty of naysayers. Oh, you should be doing this. They don't even know you. and they
Yeah.
start to tell you what you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, I already know you don't know anything about me. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're
all my life I was told you should make money of what you're doing. You should. I've never made money of the art side of me. I have a day job, but I'm happy to be where I am. I able.
yeah, and that's what it is when you're content about it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't somebody else's viewpoint is irrelevant.
Yes.
You're only watching. You don't participate with me. You don't assist. Yeah, so why
Yeah.
don't you just be quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then I
that's
think had I made myself, speaking of myself, had I made compromises, had I made these, I feel really grateful for like the opportunities that like when I started also this radio show, like the fact that like, Cornelius identified with my vision and encouraged Mike, who rarely does interviews, to take part in the show, and also with you, with Renee, identify. Like I feel like had I done all of these compromises before, even I wouldn't be here speaking to you. You know.
yeah, yeah, and then you have the regrets of okay, when you follow someone else's advice instead of what you were instinctually going to do, and it doesn't work out. You're like, oh,
Oh, I can't even
you
imagine what
just
that would
yeah,
feel
you
like.
just don't know how to view it. Should
It's
I do
worse.
it
Yeah, it's
my
the
way?
worst.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess if you at least you had the most kind of fulfillment when you know it's your own path.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a
If it's
clay.
a mistake, yeah, it's my mistake. I own that, and I try not to make that mistake
Or
again.
if
Yeah,
at least if I had fun doing it, it's never gonna be a mistake.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, good attitude. Yeah.
okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
really
Thank
had
you.
a very,
So how do
very.
I find out more about, the show and how I can hear this and all that fun
I can
stuff?
send you. You should listen also to the mic one. And when I finish this one, I have you on Skype now, so we can keep
Okay.
it. Do you ever, if you log a lot or not, doesn't. Or you can send me your email. It's easier also.
Yeah, yeah, I will. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, and really, I had such a, as I said, I'm really grateful to meet you, and I'm grateful for everything that shaped who you are, that
Yeah,
eventually
yeah,
shaped
yeah.
what you did. Like I feel like although all of the tragedy around and everything, I'm able to achieve happiness through the music that I listen to, and through
Yeah.
even and me being creative, and it's the only way I've figured of being happy. I've never figured any other way than
Mhm.
than through this music, and through music like your music, and
Mhm.
it's like it's a parallel. I really believe that by intuition there's a parallel, a side to the world that we cannot see with our five
Yeah.
senses, and that
Uh-huh.
there is a world of happiness that we can tap into
Yeah. Yeah.
through intuition, and that has to be made through intuition. Like Marshall Allen said, he said, to create feeling, it has to go through feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And definitely. And then we kind of like all of these things, dance, art, music, they all kind of, yeah, you're kind of forming worlds when you're doing this stuff. You're
Exactly, yeah.
forming, and you're
Sceneries,
envisioning the
not
world
songs.
in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what you meant in the name, sceneries, not songs?
No, it was kind of the explanation that these are not songs, so don't kind of expect a song. This is more kind of like a musical backdrop that kind of rolls,
Yeah, so this is what
and
it
you
is.
kind of see where it fits in for you in your life. So they weren't set up like songs like a Aretha Franklin song where you had
Yeah.
to specifically
They're
listen
like
to
tools
verse
for
one,
your
verse
brain to enter this parallel world and explore
two.
and
Yeah. So
play.
this can just be a backdrop for what you're doing. It's
Yeah.
not songs. You don't even have to kind of fully pay attention. You could just put it on and just see what happens.
And your whole room will transform.
Yeah. Or your whole backyard if you're outside
Yeah.
gardening, you'll feel just great and
You
the
might go to
plants will
space
grow. Yeah.
to
So that's where you can have fun with your imagination
exactly the
because
power
it's
of the
not a
imagination.
song. It's not restricted to a storyline, so you can kind of invent your own thing. So that's where the audience, the listener, gets to participate. Whatever it makes me envision, that's what it is for me. Yeah, so I'll let you get on with your day, and definitely was great speaking with you.
And I
And
hope we
I'll send you my email right here as soon as we finish, and
Okay.
you'll have that, and I can kind of
We'll keep in touch. I'll send you
find
some.
out more about the show and everything. Yeah,
Okay.
and get to hear it at some point as well. Yeah, fun stuff. Yeah.
And it's a very big pleasure. And I really want to say I'm really grateful to Renee for believing in the idea and pursuing it. I'm grateful that.
Yeah, I'm glad to kind of be able to connect with another part of the globe as well. Because we kind of you just don't barge in. You kind of wait for yourself to be invited, at least.
Well, the thing is, you're already there, but for your physical to be there, to connect you there, yes. But you're already there.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
Through your sound.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll let you get on with your day, and
much
thank you
love.
again.
Have a great day.
You too. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.